Yes, sir.
नाइदर लेला नॉर जमील, दोनों में से कोई नहीं है, तो आप मॉडरेट कर लीजिए।
Professor Vani, sir. Professor Vani, please.
लगता है ना कोई है। गंगा जी वो बता रहे ज्वाइन किया, मैंने से कहा कि वो आपको भेजता हूँ, एक्सेप्ट करना कर लिया थोड़ी बहुत उनको बस नहीं आ रहे।
सर आप बताइए कब स्टार्ट करेंगे? चला
वो गंगाधर जी आए हैं।
A very good afternoon to one and all. I, Dr. Vaishali Nirmalkar, Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, takes immense pleasure to welcome you all in the 6th session and the last session of this 2-day international conference. The theme of this session is need for inter-religion understanding. So, I welcome our chairperson for today, Professor D.A. Gangadhar, chairperson. Sir has joined us online. He is the former head, Department of Philosophy and Religion, Banaras Hindu University, Uttar Pradesh. We welcome you, sir, to this 2-day international conference. I also welcome the co-chairperson of this session, Professor Manzoor Ahmed Bhatt, former head, Department of Islamic Studies, University of Kashmir, Srinagar. I welcome you, sir. And I also welcome the moderator for today's session, Dr. Leila Chamankha. Dr. Sheikh Jamil. Yeah. So I welcome all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Sir, we have total 8 deliberations in this session. So I hand over the mic to the moderator. So I request Professor Hamidullah Marazi, sir, to kindly take over. Sir, आपको mic इधर दे.
Thank you very much. Now we are going to start this session by the name of God, most merciful, most benevolent. This is the last business session, and I welcome all the professors. She's not working. Yes. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So with the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most benevolent, we start this last working session. We have several papers here, and this session will be chaired by a renowned scholar of Vedanta, Hinduism, and Hindu philosophy, Professor D.A. Gangadhar Saab, who is the former head Department of Philosophy and Religion of Banaras Hindu University. I welcome you, sir. And the co-chairperson will be Professor Manzoor Ahmed Bhatt Saab. He is the former head Department of Islamic Studies, University of Kashmir. So we had asked 2 eminent persons to be the moderators, one from USA, second from Kashmir, but because of some reasons they could not join us. So now I will be moderating. We have several papers in this session, and I would request each and every participant and the paper reader to take 5 to 6 minutes So first person who will be presenting his paper is Dr. Omkar Bhatkar, Head St. Andrews Center for Philosophy and Performing Arts, St. Andrews College, St. Dominic Road, Mumbai. And topic is Saint Statues, Scriptures and Syncretism of Everyday Life, a leaf from Goa's Organic Civility. Dr. Omkar Bhatkar. Thank you. है? इसके बाद फिर उनको कर लेते हैं। I also welcome Professor Syed Jamaluddin Sahab, who is Director IOS Center for Historical and Civilizational Studies, Delhi. Welcome, sir. Yeah.
A very good afternoon. My topic is Saints, Statues, Symbols and Syncretism in Everyday Life, a leaf from Goa's Organic Civility. Goa is a gem for the cultural quilt of India, though very small but equally diverse, rich and plural in nature and form. The past 5 centuries have shaped Goa's culture, everyday life and customs into what it is today. Next slide, please. The 450 years of Portuguese rule, previous slide. The 400, previous, back. Yes. The 450 years of Portuguese rule over the old conquest in Goa brought different cultural and religious traditions to meet and reshape the socio-cultural landscape, giving an Indian-Portuguese personality to Goa with a distinctive history and culture from the other parts of India. The meeting of the East and the West have resulted in a unique amalgamation of a kind where it becomes difficult to ascertain who is adapting from whom, and in doing so contributing to a form of syncretism which is very peculiar to the Goan geography. Next slide. The paper does look at everyday lived reality, which is influenced by several faiths and art traditions, religious iconography and social customs that have been recycled in complex and aesthetic ways. Next slide. The paper is divided into 3 sections. The first section deals with syncretic saints and deities, which are revered by Hindus and Catholics and are worshipped in socio-cultural ways of life. I won't be talking about this. The second section of the paper looks at the socio-cultural customs of the region embedded with the sacrality of space, embodying plural principles which are often rooted in mythic memories. But I won't talk about this. I will directly jump to the last section, which is a cursory look at the arts and artifacts in Goa that results in blending the diverse forms of cultures in producing something very Goan and very unique to the region. So the whole paper is about social life, customs, saints, statues, and eventually art and artifacts. But I will speak about the art and artifacts, which first is Kavi art and graffito. I will talk about infant Jesus and baby Krishna, everyday worship, Nirmala Mata, and the secular dish, which is patillo. Most of us are aware of the last one, I believe. All the images used in this presentation are my own. This is in ethnographic research along with sociological analysis and a little bit of visual theology. Next slide, please. Okay, now what you see on the slide is when you go into any old era temples of Goan hinterlands, we come across many consistent geometric designs and graphic wall pictures which are in burnt brown or deep burgundy color. These are Kavi art designs, and the art has got its name from the fine dark burgundy mud, which is red oxide known as kav. Now these temples, there are hardly any one of them surviving in Goa because with the Portuguese Inquisition, these temples were destroyed. Along with these temples, the artists who used to make these are also no more. Very few of them know how to do this. These are the slides of the Morzai temple in Goa, which is still maintaining in the traditional form the carve art. Next slide. And the next. Yes, this is the interior. This is the ceiling. Now, here is a point it becomes interesting. Next slide. Next slide. Now what you see on the screen, this is a Catholic way of doing it, which is known as graffitos, which is a reverse version of the carve art. So carve art was done with red oxide. This is done with plaster and red oxide. On your left is a Catholic image, on your left is a Catholic, on your right is a Hindu temple. I think we reach a point where it becomes difficult to ascertain what is what. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, this is in detail the Acoustical Palace in Goa. Okay, now we come to baby Krishna or baby Jesus. What you see on the slide is infant Jesus as a good shepherd from the Goa Museum of Art. And the way it's been made, it seems to have drawn inspiration from the baby Krishna, who is also a cowherd, but Jesus in the context of being the shepherd. This artist is unknown. It's made in 17th century, and the artist instinctively chose to align the Christ child with the very similar and familiar to him that of a god Krishna as a boy. I will pause till the slide opens up because what I'm doing is very visual. Yeah. Yes, this is a life-size statue which is located at the Pilar Monastery Museum in Goa, of baby Jesus sitting like Krishna, contemplating on the world with the tree image. The third slide, next slide. Next slide. Yes, now this is a rare painting from the convent of Santa Monica. Krishna, baby Krishna or Krishna played with children. The same way you see Jesus playing with children in this painting from the convent of Santa Monica at the Trinity Chapel. The artists are known again. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, now this is also interesting. This is another statue from the Museum of Christian Museum of Goa. This may look like Krishna, but it is baby Jesus in a, again, 17th century work, baby Jesus in a canopy bed with silver work. So there is a similarity with these two religions and the iconography that has shaped Goa's plural fabric. I move on to next. There are many other deities like this. I won't be doing a lot of them, but just one more. Next is, next slide. Next is Nirmala Mata, which you see on the screen. Now this is actually Our Lady of Immaculate Conception, and which in the vernacular, she's known pristine nature reflected in ivory soft glow. The sculpture size is a small size. It's like for personal devotion possibly. On a lotus pedestal, which is also inverted lotus, often used in Buddhist iconography. She wears an Indian-style crown in the manner of Hindu goddess, but also identifies as a queen of heaven. And another title of the Madonna added to the crown is a halo, which you see behind her head, and a crescent-shaped moon. Yes. Then we move on to the next slide. I think I will not speak. I will just want you to watch it because I think what I have is more visual. Now this is St. Jude, and this is something I saw in Goa and was very interesting to me, which is the Hindus have some of the Hindus have a very personal relationship with their God, and when they're unhappy with the God, what they do is they take the icons from the altar and they put it in water. Like, you know, I am God, you're not listening to me, you need to listen to me, so I'm putting you in water. With this particular statue, I was very impressed, but I saw in Goa, there are people who say because you're not listening. So and I think it's so fascinating what has been incorporated with the Bhakti tradition into this Catholicism. Next slide. Next slide, next slide. Patilio, again, I'll do it in two lines. This is a very famous Goan dish, but it's a very secular dish because it's prepared on the assumption of Mother Mary's Fest, other popular saint festivals in Goa. At the same time, it's a most important dish for the Nag Panchami for Hindus. I'm going to conclude my presentation with this particular image, with this particular picture that I clicked in 2014. So I went to this, I was looking for Vetals. That was a research I was doing then on Vetals in Goa. And I reached this temple in this village called Maushi. And I entered the temple and I clicked a picture. I was trying to understand which god is which god. Because the most famous are Sateri, then there is Bahamani. These are famous goddesses. When I looked at this, then slowly the priest, you can't call it priest, it's a guru, who came from, like he saw me trying to go in the temple, he came and he was there. And I asked him, like, can you tell me about these different deities? Can you tell me their names? And what was very interesting, I asked him one, he said, okay, this is this, this is this. And after a point, he's like, this I don't know, this I don't know, this I don't know. So where did this come from? Again, during Inquisition time, most of you know that the Hindus ran with their gods and goddesses wherever they went. And if they couldn't carry the gods and goddesses, they buried it under earth or they put it into river. Some of them took it to new villages, different villages. These are, while farming, these have been found in the village. And the beautiful line which I want to conclude my presentation, when I asked him, he said, it may not be my God, it is somebody's God. And that's why we have kept them. And I think this is the most beautiful part about Goa's pluralism, which in Konkani goes Deo Ek Tochre, which is God is only one, which is the different names. And I think that is the most beautiful part about Goa, which is being politicized now. But the point is the everyday life is not politicized. The everyday culture is very much plural. And that's what my presentation is about. Thank you so much.
It was really a very interesting presentation, and he has just tried to picturize many things about the culture of Goa. So now I request Professor Syed Jamaluddin Saab, who is Director IOS Center for Historical and Civilization Studies, Delhi. His topic is Lost in Wilderness. With the should man go, whether man should go, here comes the role of masjid and imam in character building and maintaining peace and harmony. Though it's a very big topic, but the man is also very big. I request Professor Syed Jamaluddin to present his paper. Please unmute your mic, sir. Your mic is muted, sir. Please unmute it.
Now,
Yeah.
hello. Okay. Allah, the most gracious and merciful, beginning in His name. Adab taslimat to all the dignitaries on the dais and those who have assembled in the auditorium and those who are listening to the proceedings online. I'm in a very bad shape of health and I have blurred vision. It was with great difficulty that I could jot down some points because I wanted to participate. I was supposed to be physically present in this international conference, but the fate decided otherwise. I will just mention a few points regarding what role imams can play or how they can play a role. According to a tradition of the Prophet, the person chosen as Imam in a mosque, he must possess most knowledge of the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And also, in addition, he should be a man of integrity, a man of good character. When we consider the present situation, we find ourselves at a loss regarding the present and future of common man, particularly the Muslim community, which finds itself under great stress due to hostility shown by the hate mongers. Recently, in a paper which I presented at the IO Center for Historical Studies in Aligarh, I presented a paper on this theme. The title of the paper was तारीख को मस्ख करने और तहजीब को मिटाने का अमल दौर हाजिर का अलमिया. If I start stammering, please excuse me, because as I said, I have a blurred vision. I will refrain from making any observations about the Muslim leadership. We need another Sayyid who would say stay away from politics and work for social reform and education. Therefore, we shall rather have to work out a strategy within the constitutional framework and undertake measures to strengthen the secular democratic fabric of our country, of our society. In this pursuit, we will find many other communities on our side. The Indian Constitution gives us right to follow our religion. In this context, Masjid and its Imam occupy a central position, because in the Masjid, members of the community from different walks of life gather and rubbing shoulders with each other. Masjid attracts large gatherings of worshippers, particularly on Friday. This gives some edge to the Imam, whom people look upon as their prayer leader and model. There is no denying the fact that Masjid is a place of worship. But in the present scenario, I would like to emphasize that the Masjid now should be kept, that while deciding the character of the Masjid in our times, classical period of Islam should be kept in mind, when Masjid was a platform where political and administrative activities were effectively conducted, and it was also a court of justice. So Masjid should, besides prayers, function as a social platform and center for community education. Masjid and say philanthropic, but they should be initiated at the Masjid. Living in poverty and suffering from depression, people need counseling as to how to start a small business, etc., etc. So they should be given counseling. During the time of natural calamity, Masjid should become the center to raise funds. And recently we saw during the COVID period that some of the mosques, they played this role. Masjid should also have a library so that people know who we are and what we are supposed to do. The Imam himself should be a role model, and he should take upon himself the obligation of giving moral instruction to those who assemble in the mosque to offer prayers. Time has come to broaden the community role of the Imams, making mosque a center of guidance and adult Islamic education center. Besides being a place of worship, is the need of the law that we are. Intellectual in the vicinity of the mosque should also strengthen such centers. Quite often, Masjid management commits are found belittling the position of the Imam by imposing unwanted restrictions on them. In my opinion, management committees should confine their role to maintenance and fundraising. My experience says that funds flow to the Masjid when the community finds that the Imam is an upright man. There is a question how to, an Imam, in my opinion, he should form on his part a shura comprising the steadfast worshippers, educated persons, and common people with experience. And this shura should assist the imam in the social welfare and educational affairs conducted in the masjid. There is a question how to make the imam an instrument of change. First and foremost, the imam must be a sound Islamic scholar with the ability to drive moral lessons from the Quran and Sunnah. He must be aware of all kinds of developments taking place around. Orientation courses should be conducted to enhance their leadership qualities. Imam, scholars from different disciplines may be requested to explain to imams that the time has come for them to play a far bigger role than conducting prayers. In the Islamic world, imams are appointed by the state. On the eve of each Friday, a communication is sent to them by the Ministry of Department of Religious Affairs regarding what should be the theme of their Friday sermon. In India, it cannot be, we cannot have imams appointed by the state. But the imam, with the help of Shura, should decide about what issues must be taken up for the khutbah. Unfortunately, I have in Kerala, khutbahs are being delivered in the local language, and in which they are discussing local issues, national issues, state issues. But in most part of North India and the rest of the country, khutbah is just a ceremony where Arabic text is recited. But imams, before khutbah, they do deliver speeches, and so these speeches should be on the current issues. Imams, they must take advantage of people's trust in their leadership. Character making and personality development are other important areas in which imams can deliver, can play effective role. Parents are seen struggling against all odds to earn bread and butter to meet the two ends for their children and dependents, hardly getting sufficient time for moral upbringing of their wards. Imams can fill this vacuum by conducting personality development sessions for youngsters. Similarly, they can also have sessions, special sessions for girls and women. In this age of all kinds of tensions, harassment, persecution, threats to eliminate the whole community, Muslims are bewildered as to what they should do. Islam does not preach hatred and denounces violence by any means. Imams can plead effectively that Muslims should make an all-out effort to strengthen secular democratic structure of our country and ensure peace and harmony. In short, it can be said that the need of PR is that imams should play a proactive role to convince the community that it is in their best interest to follow ethical teachings of Islam, strengthening our secular democracy and live in peace and harmony with all compatriots. I take this opportunity just to make a remark about what we are doing as the IQAC historical.
आदि बोली कि शाम को खाना है, वहाँ दोपहर में ही था, क्यों झूठ बोली? जाके पूछो कि काहे झूठ बोली, वहाँ शाम को खाना है, शाम को खाना है कि नहीं, फिर से साफ साफ बता दे, बता दो शाम को खाना है कि नहीं, फिर से बता दे.
I request GM Momin's Women's College faculty to contact us. They will get my contact number and email address from the iOS. That they should submit their projects on social reforms, on education, on what kinds of problems the community is facing in their area, and we would like to help them
conclude now, sir.
And provide guidance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Professor Jamal Saab was addressing a very important issue. What can be the role of imams of the masjids to prevail upon community to have peaceful behavior? So this is a very important subject, and it is a grassroots level peace building. Thank you very much, sir, for your excellent presentation.
Welcome.
Now, I just request Professor Dr. Valmiki, Amita Valmiki ji, Head Department of Philosophy, RJ College of Arts, Science and Commerce. Her topic is Re-Envisioning the Notion of Religious Pluralism and its Excellency, Exigency in Contemporary Times, Professor Dr. Amita Valmiki.
Respected Chair of the session, Co-Chair, Moderator, Tabassum Madam, Cheshadri Sir, and all the respected members on the dais, and my dear students, friends. I would like to present and read out my PowerPoint since it is too short a period that we have to finish our paper. I think we are given 5 minutes. Okay. 6, he says 6, okay, fine. So my time starts now anyways. Can you just go to the next slide? The title of the paper is Re-Envisioning the Notion of Religious Pluralism and its Exigency in Contemporary Times. Slavoj Zizek says, I quote, "Touch me not," according to John 20. What Jesus said to Mary Magdalene when she recognized him after his resurrection. How do I, an avowed Christian atheist, understand these words? First, I take them together with Christ's answer to his disciples' question as to how we will know that he is returned, resurrected. Christ says he will be there whenever there is love between his believers. He will be there not as a person to touch, but as the bond of love and solidarity between people. So, do not touch me. Touch and deal with other people in spirit of love, unquote. Narayan Guru says, I quote him, one faith in another's view is faulty, and the doctrine cardinal has taught in one, in another's measure, lacks. No, confusion in the world shall prevail so long as the unitive secret herein remains unknown, unquote. So in the time of pandemic, next slide. In the time of pandemic, social distancing is a norm and way of life. But as Zizek notes that physical spacing precisely has accelerated propinquity in spirit in form of love. Therefore, I am of the firm belief, I myself am of the firm belief that it is not social distancing, but corporeal distancing that has to be reiterated. Probably this is where the reshuffling is needed in our thought process, that physical distance does not create the gorge between people, but distance in thought or conception can create the chasm. And these chasm needs to be bridged either in reflection or in spirit. De facto, the global scenario is fast changing in this pandemic afflicted time. At all fronts of human social domain, the repercussions have been too drastic and entails an immediate surveillance, say it for economy, politics, science, ecology, so also diversities of all kinds. And extra care has to be taken in religious diversity, religion that which is so intrinsic to human existence. Next slide. If pandemic has taught us a lesson of reducing proximity in spirit, that we have come closer, then physical closeness, this attitude needs to be translated in matter of religious diversity as well. But it is not, but it is on the contrary, it's opposite. Life has reshuffled, and in lieu of suggesting affirming steps, humankind is diverted to and landed on the threshold of identity crisis. Diversity should be the cause of celebration, but it is used as accoutrement to divide and suppress, to wound the wounded, and the bloodshed is rampant. This is manifested forthwith in religious diversities. Ghettos of religious groups are discerned and has become obvious. The need is seriously felt to re-envision the notion of religious pluralism and its exigency in contemporary times. The need is seriously felt, and I feel very much that it is a high time that we think about it. Probably conferences of this kind is a bona fide to our step taken to erasing the distance and coming close from diversified faiths and sects within a faith. Next slide, please. Through dialogue, one need to revisit the concept of religious pluralism and need to expedite the process to reinstate harmony and world solidarity. Number of scholars of philosophy of religion have ventured and intervened into issues related to religious pluralism. The paper concentrates on the philosophies of thinkers like Paul Tillich, R.B. Braithwaite, Davy Z. Phillips, Gabriel Marcel, and John Caputo. Those who did not deny the fact of religion, but on the contrary explained the essence of religion and its function in modern times. Above it, they have welcomed variegated ideologies so as to accommodate motley of thinkers, be it theist, atheist, or agnostic. This process has embellished the concept of religious pluralism and has made diversity in religions a moment of celebration. That means, can we coexist? Indeed, we can coexist. I won't go in detail for all the mentioned philosophers, but I will read the quote on them or by them. Excuse me. Being religious, I quote Paul Tillich, being religious means asking passionately the question of the meaning of our coexistence and being willing to perceive answers, even if the answers hurt, unquote. Next slide. You can. We come to R.B. Braithwaite, who says, a religious belief is an intention to behave in a certain way that is a moral belief. Next slide. One more. No, this is backward. One more. Next slide. D.Z. Phillips' radical pluralism of the sort that allows the hubbub of voices and the diverse relations to each other to be themselves. The point of the approach is neither to settle nor to aggravate disputes, but rather to deepen our understanding of the particularities of religious and non-religious forms of life in a way that remains undistorted by prior theological motivations. This is on D.Z. Phillips' radical pluralism. Next slide. Next slide. Gabriel Marcel, whom I personally, beautiful philosopher, beautiful thoughts, I quote him, I almost think the hope is for the soul what breathing is for the living organism. Where hope is lacking, the soul dries up and withers. So he is a Christian existentialist. Next slide. But I would definitely talk about my favorite philosopher, John. Him, a world without love is a world governed by rigid contracts and inexorable duties. A world in which, God forbid, the lawyers run everything. The mark of really someone or something is unconditionally and excess engagement and commitment, fire and passion, says Caputo. Next slide. You can retain the same one. The next slide. Next slide. Yeah. John Caputo, an American, he's still there, an American philosopher whose contribution to hermeneutics, theology, postmodern Christianity, and continental philosophy of religion is commendable. Caputo's take on religion is absolute unorthodox and may incur the wrath of Orthodox Church. But as he is influenced by St. Augustine and his admiration for Jacques Derrida's deconstruction, that makes him open-minded and way ahead of receiving diversity. Next slide. He notes, I quote him, beautiful quote, religion is for lovers, for men and women of passion, for real people with a passion for something other than taking profits. People who are mad in something, who love something with a love that surpasses understanding. Faith, hope, and love. And of these three, the best is love, according to a famous apostle. The opposite of religious person is loveless person. Whoever does not love does not know God, unquote. This reminds me of Mevlana Jalaluddin Rumi, who says, I quote him, "Love masters all things. I am mastered totally by love. My God is love. My prophet is love. My religion is love. I am child of love. I have come to speak of nothing but love." So, next slide. Why is the need to study these philosophers? These philosophers do not directly address issues of religious pluralism, but have somehow ventured into the realm of assimilation and diversity, and so speaks in subtle and silent manner about religious pluralism. Very well defined by David Ray Griffin, what is generic definition of religious pluralism? He says, I quote him, "For members of a particular religious tradition, to accept religious pluralism is to accept two affirmations, one negative, the other positive. The negative affirmation is rejection of religious absolutism, which means rejecting the a priori assumption that their own religion is the only one that provides saving truths and values to its adherents, that is alone is divinely inspired, that it has been divinely established as the only legitimate religion, intended to replace all others." So this is negative, they reject all these ideas. And positive affirmation, which goes beyond the negative one, is the acceptance of the ideas that there are indeed religions other than one's own that provide saving truths and values for to their adherents. This twofold statement provides a summary account of what can be called religious pluralism in a generic sense, unquote. Next slide. Ho gaya. Thank you. Next slide. These are the references. Next one. Next one. And still last one. Of course, before thanking you for patiently tolerating me, religion is realization, not talk, nor doctrine, nor theories. However beautiful they may be, it's being and becoming, says Swami Vivekananda. Thank you. Thank you. Inshallah.
Highly philosophical and loaded with philosophical statements, she has brought us to the world of philosophy. And this is also one approach to religion, and it is being dawned nowadays on the minds of the people that we need religion. Once philosophers denied religion, now they acknowledge its importance. Thank God. So after this wonderful and very beautiful paper, I would like to request Dr. Nadeem Ashraf, Assistant Professor, Department of Sunni Theology, AMU Aligarh, to present his paper on the theme, the rights of non-Muslims in a plural society. Dr. Nadeem Ashraf.
जी, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. With the permission of chair, I would like to present my paper on this topic with minor change in my topic, the plural society, a study of the rights of non-Muslim. Almost every country has religious or linguistic minorities in its dominion. These minorities enjoy fundamental rights guaranteed by the respective governments and abide by the rules and regulations framed for them. Muslims are also residing in non-Muslim countries in considerable numbers. About 1/3 of the whole Muslim population of the world is living in these countries. Every country formulated certain laws and rules regarding the rights and duties of the minorities residing within its territories. Islam has also formulated a definite policy in connection with minorities living under its jurisdiction. Islam is a universal religion, so it sets out rules and regulations for dealing not only with Muslims but also with non-Muslims. Islam has laid down the following basic principles regarding the basis of relations with Muslims and non-Muslim nations, such as the dignity of humanity and the guarantee of humanity, justice, peace, mutual aid and cooperation, obedience and fulfillment of the covenant, non-compulsion and freedom of thought, neutrality. Non-Muslim in the Muslim society. Non-Muslims who live in the Muslim countries enjoy a number of guarantees and rights that the Muslim society has granted them, acting upon the guidance of the Book of Allah and Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The guarantees secured by the Muslims for the non-Muslims are as follows. Firstly, non-Muslims who live in the countries of Muslims enjoy several guarantees and rights that Islam has guaranteed them. Secondly, guarantee regarding the liberty of belief. Thirdly, the safety of the places of worship. Fourthly, the freedom of practicing worship. Fifthly, good relationship and kind treatment. Sixthly, the justice in dealing with them and protecting them from oppression. And last one is assurance of the social solidarity. Now, concern about ethical duties in a non-Muslim society. The issue of moral responsibilities of the Muslims is very important in a non-Muslim society. Their interaction is very ordinary people and non-Muslims, which can be hindered by religious, national and sectarian prejudices. Muslims must rise above these prejudices and fulfill their responsibilities in the light of the Quran and Hadith. The greatest factor in the conquest of the Islamic world was the moral and spiritual superiority of the Muslims. Now, about compassion. The advent of Islam was to unite human beings. That is why Islam demands its followers to be a beacon of kindness, love, compassion and mercy, and to maintain their relationship with all mankind on the basis of humanity. The first step is strengthening human relationship is the reward of compassion. It is usually related to blood relations, distant relative and neighbors. Obviously, these three relationships has a positive effect on the whole society. Regarding the matter of merciful reward, the Quran says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, alladhina yufuna bihadillahi wa la yanquduna al-mithaq walladhina yasiluna ma amara Allahu bihi an yusala wa yakhshawna rabbahum wa yakhafuna su'al hisab." Those who fulfill their covenant with Allah and don't break their compact of the family confirming it, who join together the ties which Allah has bidden to be joined, who fear their Lord and dread lest they are subjected to severe reckoning. Now highlighting about treatment of non-Muslim parents. When a person converts to Islam, the biggest problem he faces is that no hereditary Muslim is quick to accept him when it comes to marriage. On the other hand, he is cut off from his own relatives and polytheistic parent. The teaching of Quran and the Prophet ﷺ show that serving one's relationship with non-Muslim parents is neither rights for any inherited Muslim or for a new Muslim. The relationship with non-Muslim neighbors. It is a matter of Muslim living in a non-Muslim society as to what their moral responsibilities are. Since in such a society the neighbors are mostly non-Muslim, in Islam the rights of neighbors are clearly defined. Therefore, the question arises that if our neighbors are non-Muslims, will they have the same rights as an ordinary Muslim neighbor, or is there some specificity in it? So the answer is that Islam makes no such distinction. Its ruling applies to common neighbors, whether they are Muslims or non-Muslim. Whether in the West or in countries like India, there are more non-Muslims in the Muslim neighborhood besides in factories, mills, colleges, trade, business, market and wages. We have the tide of non-Muslim everywhere today. Visit to non-Muslim patient. When we live in a non-Muslim society, it is important for us to uphold moral values. These values include visiting the sick, even if they are non-Muslims. Numerous traditions prove that the Prophet ﷺ visited non-Muslims. There are examples of this in the book of Hadith and Sirah. Cooperation with non-Muslim in common affairs. Cooperation with human beings is a command of the Quran and itself, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 2. And it is general. This can be certified for it. There can be many commonalities that all human beings have in general between Muslims and non-Muslims. Being the same society and environment, there can be many problems and issues there that are common to all. For example, today's material civilization, global warming, the melting of the ozone layer, environmental pollution, the rampant crime and violence endanger the survival of mankind and human existence. Cooperating with non-Muslim in the face of such common threats and other such issues is not only a moral obligation but also a basic human need. Now, I would like to conclude my paper. In short, Islamic teaching train a Muslim socially in such a way that it is a role model for all, beneficial to all humanity, take care of everyone's needs, be concerned for the whole society, share in everyone's pain, use positive ways to strengthen and improve relationship in all these matters. It only cares for all people on a human basis, without the bondage of religion, especially for non-Muslims. There should be a spirit of kindness and social services in their hearts so that they can present a better picture of Islam to others and also play a teaching role through their actions. Thanks. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nadeem Ashraf Saab. So it was a very important paper to apprise Muslims about the rights of non-Muslims, especially the Muslim societies. Because sometimes we don't know about our own religion, so we sometimes just violate important teachings about religion. So we need to discover our own religion first, to understand the rights of others from our religious point of view. So this was a very important issue. So we are very Professor Leila Chaman-Kha from USA, Dayton, she has joined, and she was supposed to be our moderator. If she hears me and I hand over the mic to her, and she can now conduct the session. Dr. Leila Chaman-Kha.
Good morning, everybody. Of course, I hear you, and I was present for some minutes. But if you allow me, I'll just be there as an attendee and participant, and not as a panelist or moderator or whatever, because I'm not ready yet. I'm so sorry. It's 6 o'clock, 6:36 early morning, and if you give me some time to prepare myself for the session. Did you hear me? Professor Marazi, did you hear me?
I now request Mr. Z.A. Naik Saab and Dr. K. Mir and Mr. Muhammad Azam. This is the joint paper. Research scholar, Department of Islamic University, Rajouri. His topic is revisiting the concept of Mu'alafatul Qulub in Zakat towards religious harmony. Mr. Z.A. Naik. Before that, I welcome Dr. Manzoor Alam Sahab, and we need his guidance and mentorship always. Thank you very much.
Respected dignitaries, on the dais of the dais, a very good afternoon to all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. This is Zahid Ahmed Naik, a research scholar, Department of Islamic Studies, Babu Ghulam Shabad University, Rajouri, Jammu and Kashmir. And the title of my presentation is revisiting the concept of Mu'allafat al-Qulub in zakat distribution and move towards religious harmony. Zakah is one of the basic pillars of Islam. We discussed along with Salah more than 80 times in the Quran. Zakah is the third pillar of Islam that combines the aspect of worship and muamala to the man that connects between the rich and the poor in the distribution of wealth. We have a Quranic verse in Surah Tawbah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والآمنين عليها والمؤلفة القلوب وفي الرقاب والغارمين في سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم. In this Quranic verse, we have the categories in which the zakat is to be distributed. Leaving the translation and all that aside because of scarcity of time, I would come forward in the implementation and management of zakat. Caliph Abu Bakr directly intervened and lifted several officers so that the collection and distribution of property zakat can be well established. Zakat and Maqasid Sharia. Poverty can result in loss of life from lack of essential nutrition and basic life-saving medication. Therefore, if zakat helps a person to afford essential food intake and essential life-saving medicines, then it can help in saving lives. That is again an important component of Maqasid Sharia. Zakat is a means of purifying wealth. When a person fulfills the obligation to pay zakah, he is able to purify his or her wealth. It may at the society level, it helps in wealth circulation, which eventually benefits everyone in terms of economic activity and strengthening of social safety. Zakat in the modern times. The outline of contemporary zakat management strategy in Muslim countries is divided into two kinds. The first group is the Muslim countries whose payment of zakat are organized by the state, but the payment of his own zakat to the organization is still voluntary. Including in this group are Kuwait, Bangladesh, Jordan, Oman, and Indonesia. The second group of the Muslim countries whose payment of zakat is organized and required by the state, but the object of zakat is still partial. The group is included are Saudi Arabia, Libya, Pakistan, Sudan, and Malaysia. In the distribution of zakat, Pakistan limits one of the two categories, fakir and poor, as mentioned by the Quran. Mu'allafat al-Qulub. In the above lines, we have discussed the categories among which zakat is to be distributed, but our main focus here is Mu'allafat al-Qulub. The term is meant for those whose hearts we want to soften by giving some favors. The term has been defined by scholars differently. Maulana Tahirul Qadi, in translating the term, says it means those whose hearts we want to mold towards Islam. Nighat Hashimi translates it as in whose hearts we want to develop affection towards Islam. So the meaning of Talif in winning is the winning of hearts. How the hearts can be won is the big discussion. Now, Maulana Maududi, while discussing the concept of Mu'allafat al-Qulub, says that the main purpose of this branch is to minimize the level of anger from those who want to harm Islam in one way or the other by giving some favors in cash or kind. Dr. Qardawi has made 7 groups of this category. One is that group where there seems the possibility of that giving them some stipend can bring them or their tribe into the folds of Islam. The issue of Safwan ibn Umayyah can be taken as an example. He was a non-Muslim and Prophet ﷺ spared him at so many times, and laterly he accepted Islam and became the support of Islam. The second category is that we are a group of people who are at the war with Islam, and it is believed that giving them some gifts can minimize the intensity of their anger towards Islam and Muslims. Revisiting the term Mu'allafat al-Qulub. The term has been greatly ignored by a good number of scholars due to unknown reasons, and many scholars who have discussed it have not been able to divulge the origins of this term, excluding a few. In contemporary times, the term is of more importance as the circumstances demand something great. There has remained confusion regarding this aspect. Some are of the view that zakat can't be given to a non-Muslim, while others have the different opinion. Dr. Qardawi, while quoting Tafsir Qurtubi, writes that it is permissible to give zakat to non-Muslims, and it is actually a kind of jihad. He further says that there are 3 types of polytheists. One, those who by logic and reasoning can come back to Islam. Those for whom we need extreme measures like war. And third, and those who come into the force of Islam by gifts and rewards. So it is dependent on the leader of the Muslims that which option he takes in this reward. Priorities always play a crucial role in everything. We can't ignore priorities. A human being needs both food and water, but when he is thirsty, he must be given water. Giving him food at this time can be nonsense act. Likewise, we need to identify priority in everything. So, Muslims need to identify the priorities of Ummah before giving any verdict. A verdict should be given prior to the proper understanding of the issue, else it can be more hazardous and jeopardize the common welfare of Ummah. Leaving the fiqh perspective of zakat distribution aside for quite some time, and let us try to introspect the situation Muslims live in. In contemporary times, Muslims don't have a genuine center as they have lost it decades before, and they are considered as other. Their contribution is being ignored and their achievement is hijacked. In such situations, they should evolve out of the box and should find a great solution in many ways. The Muslim theories have been ignored and badly rejected by others. So the Muslims need to do something practical, something that can support their claim of being the pioneers of humanity. Moreover, after 9/11, Muslims have been facing many issues globally, and mere sermons cannot clean their image, but they need to contribute practically to humans and humanity. The horizon of Mu'allafatul Qulub needs to be expanded as it should include those who need support, and Muslims should be there for the help. There are oppressors in the world. Muslims should offer gifts and make colonial ties with those oppressors so that their level of oppression can be minimized, if not stopped. The fiqh should not and cannot stop us from making a good image out of Islam. Once the image is good, more people will love Islam and Muslims. Finally, this can be a protective reason for coexistence between Muslims and others. Zakat is meant for upliftment of Muslims, and it is meant to give them strength in every way, not morally, financially, and so on. The zakah is one of the basic pillars of Islam and is mentioned more than 80 times in Quran along with Salah. The Prophet himself paid great attention to this.
Conclude.
It was institutionalized for the common welfare of Muslims. The institute was greatly functional.
Please conclude now.
I results for okay, sir. Thank you. For Muslims, with the passage of time, Muslims became stagnant and met heavy decline. The important recept of zakat is Mu'allafatul Qulub, and it is meant for those whose hearts ought to be reconciled. It is known fact that in present times, Muslims are considered others and are being treated the same way. Muslims should and can respond to this situation in better way. They should expand the mental horizons and also horizons of fiqh. This can help them to diverse the bad image. They should help others, including non-Muslims, so that they can get good image of Islam. Once we practically show that Islam is meant for the great service of humans and humanity, then surely they will love Islam and Muslims, and that can be the end of conflict between different faiths and will make a way for peaceful coexistence. Thank you.
This was a very important paper in the sense that whether we can give some portion of our charity to the non-Muslim. So from this paper we can understand that we can give. If they are in need, we should help them from zakat, which is one of the obligations of our wealthy Muslims. So this point needs also a lot of discussion, and this is very good to show that Islam is for philanthropic purposes, always available to the people belonging to any denomination of the religions. Thank you. So now I request Ms. Firdosa Akhtar and Gawar Qadirwani, who are the Senior Research Fellows, Department of Islamic Studies, AMU Aligarh. Their topic is Philosophy of Human Dignity and Islamic Perspective.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Esteemed Chairperson, Co-Chairperson, the moderator, speaker, and all the members of the conference, Assalamu alaikum, and a very good afternoon to all of you. The theme of our paper is Philosophy of Human Dignity and Islamic Perspective. No doubt the title is not directly related to the conference theme, however, the ethic of peaceful coexistence of entire humankind is intrinsic in the Islamic concept of human dignity. That is the main motive of inter-religious as well as intra-religious understanding. So firstly, we need to understand what is dignity. Dignity implies a state or quality of being worthy of honor and respect. In the contemporary era, some critics have argued that human dignity is not such a concept that is expressed in quantified rules as law, but it is basically a moral and philosophical concept. as a moral or ethical philosophy embraces the study of codes of conduct that significantly govern the human behavior and is mostly independent of religious commands and separated from law. However, in Islam, human dignity is ethical, moral, as well as legal concept. From legal point of view, human dignity implies blessedness of human person, recognition of set of rights and duties, and guarantee of safe conduct by other fellow beings, including the society and state. Regardless of color and creed, Islam ensures dignity to all human beings as an inherent right. This is the basic position that Islam offers. In Arabic, the word dignity is translated as takreem. This is well understood by the most overt affirmation of human dignity that is found in Allah's illustrious speech in the Quran. I quote verse 70 of Surah Al-Isra. Quote, we have bestowed dignity on the children of Adam, لَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, and conferred upon them special favors above the greater part of creation. This verse, including others, describes the status of Adam in the whole cosmos. So here it is important to mention that the Adam represented the whole mankind. The philosophy of human dignity in Islam is well comprehended by these various manifestations. I will not elaborate, I will just name these manifestations, such as the honor of trusteeship, that is amana, given by Allah to mankind, the rank of being vice-president, that is Khalifa on earth, the status of Ashraful Makhluqat, that noblest among the creation, subservient, that is the head of the majority of the creation to mankind, the love-based relationship between Allah and humankind. The other dignified qualities that Allah specifically granted Muslims is being the community of moderation, that is Ummatan Wasatan. Human dignity as an important objective of Maqasid Sharia. Human freedom that inherits the ethos of religious pluralism. As we see in modern moral discourse, human dignity has become so rampant and there is nothing wrong in it. But there is need to understand to which direction one should speak on, whether towards the Creator or away from the Creator, as humanism and other related ideologies prescribe. In Islam, human dignity is ethical and legal concept, and the Quran time and again reminds us of an elusive reality where Allah rooted the seeds of love, faith, dignity, and unity in the productive hearts of all humankind, famously known as the covenant of Allah, where every soul gives in the pre-eternal world the affirmation of one true God. Islam offers a well-established and satisfactory dignity to the human being in the entire cosmos. The dignity that Allah declares for the whole mankind is well manifested in His appointment of different ranks and positions to humankind. And what could be the better manifestation of human dignity than this, that all the prophets, especially Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was the human being for whom Allah Himself sent salutations. Moreover, human dignity has been sent on this human being has been sent on this earth not only to worship Allah but also to reflect His qualities of love and mercy upon all the creation. The Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, quote, adorn yourself with divine qualities, unquote. To be the mirrors of Allah on earth, it is incumbent upon every human being to work together in order to create peace and harmony for all people. In Islam, a broad human fraternity of equals has given precedence. As Muhammad Hashim Kamali rightly stated, quote, there could be no affront to the human dignity of any single person without there being an affront to the dignity of all, unquote. As dignity is assigned by Allah to humankind, so no human being or the state has the right to refute it to anyone or to deprive another human being of his or her dignity. I would like to conclude with the poetic stanza of Shairi Mashriq Allama Iqbal. तू राज़ी कुन फका है अपनी आंखों पर आया हो जा, तू राज़ी कुन फका है अपनी आंखों पर आया हो जा, खुदी का राज़दां हो जा, खुदा का तर्जुमा हो जा. Thank you so much. Wassalam.
Thank you, Firdosa ji. So this was about human dignity. وَلَقَدْ كَرَمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. That we have given great glory to human beings, Quran says, and we have made them to ride on the sea and the land. So she was mentioning about that. What is the greatness and nobility of human race? So now last paper will be of Mr. Gauhar Ahmad Khan and Bilal Ahmad Bhatt, research scholar, Department of Islamic Studies, University of Science and Technology, Auntypora, J&K. So their topic is peace as basis of prosperity with special reference to Sirah of the Prophet ﷺ, Mr. Gohar.
Assalamu alaikum to all of you. My theme of presentation is peace as a basis of prosperity, with special reference to Sirah Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First of all, I will introduce about Islam. Islam literally means peace. Therefore, it seems quite unnatural that a religion that names itself peace can teach or preach something that is violent or full of aggression. Islam says to its followers to maintain peace among the individuals and to be moderate in their behavior and adopt the qualities of kindness, love, and respect for others. The next slide is Quranic perspective on peace. Quran is the main and ultimate source of Islam, and it encourages us towards peace. Many verses of the Quran are exhorted and inculcating in man the real spirit of words such as Salim, Salam, Aman, and Sulah. When we go through the Quran, we will find number of verses directly or indirectly. There emanates the spirit of peace. The very first verse of the Quran says, "In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate." There are some other verses which are directly or indirectly related to peace. Whoever takes a life unless as a punishment for murder or mischief in the land, it will be as if they killed all humanity. And whosoever saves a life, it will be as if they saved all of humanity. Surah Maida. The next verse, "O you who believe, stand out firmly for justice as witnesses to Allah, even as against yourself, your parents or your kin, and whether it be against rich or poor. For Allah can best protect both." Surah Nisa. Sirah Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sirah is a great importance for mankind. It is main and ultimate source of guidance for the Muslims. Study of Sirah is not only the study of man, it is the study of whole humanity. Its main aim is to maintain peace in the globe. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spent his whole life, especially 3 years, for establishment of peace. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam not only provide guidance but also took concrete steps for peace. Blessing of Hijrah Aswad, Hilful Fuzul, Misak Medina, Treaty of Hudaybiyah, Conquest of Makkah are the main events through which the world can understand the meaning of peace. Now Hadith perspective on peace. There are a number of hadiths where Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructs the Muslims to maintain peace. A hadith from Sahih al-Bukhari: "A true Muslim is one from whose tongue and hands bear no violence." There is another hadith from Riyadh Salihin. Abu Musa asked to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Who is the most excellent among the Muslims?" He said, "One from whose tongue and hands the other Muslims are secure." The next hadith: "Oh people, spread salam, feed others, uphold ties of kinship, and pray during night when people are sleeping, and you will enter paradise with salam." Sunan Ibn Majah. Now, conclusion. Peace is the most important aspect of every religion. Every religion of the world is teaching to maintain peace and harmony among the mankind. No religion preaches violence. It is misinterpretations of the religion. Now we can conclude this with that Islam teaches us no matter what is the situation, is a Muslim should try to maintain peace and harmony among the Muslims and mankind. Thank you.
For taking less time. Otherwise, sometimes people take more time. So this is also an art to talk on, online way. So, Alhamdulillah, we were able to accommodate all the papers. Now I request Professor Manzoor Ahmad Bhatt Sahab, if he is available online as the co-chairman, he may have his remarks. Professor Manzoor Ahmad Bhatt Sahab. So now I request Dar Sahab, who well-known Hindus, is expert of Vedanta philosophy, of Banaras Hindu University, humility to present papers as well. Professor Ganga Darji. Professor Ganga Darji. There are some technical issues, so Professor, we have been deprived of the words of wisdom of a great scholar and luminary, Professor Ganga Darji. So it is a bad luck of our technology that we were deprived of such a great wise advice from a great scholar. So maybe some other time we are able to bring him offline and we'll be just listening from his wisdom. Thank you very much. All the presenters of the paper and people on the dais, Professor Mohammad Afzal Wani Sahab, Professor Hasina Asha ji, Professor Valmiki ji, Badkar ji, and Sheikh Sahab, and all others, and especially Madam, and the people who are on the dais, Professor Shishadri Sahab, and Sheikh Sahab, and Faqih Sahab, and all great people, and our Kunarab ji. So I hope that we'll be now going for our valedictory session without any break. So I will announce the names of the dignitaries who will be just, speaking on this occasion. And before that, I thank all the dignitaries who were with me on the desk for conducting the last business session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, all the dignitaries on the dais. Now, may I please request Dr. Nisar Sheikh, the Principal, GM Momin Women's College, to kindly felicitate our moderator, Professor Hamidullah Marazi, sir. Omkar Bhatkar. I also request Dr. Nisar Sheikh sir to please felicitate Dr. Omkar Bhatkar. Dr. Omkar Bhatkar. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now we have come to the end of this session 6th, understanding of interreligious. So now I request all the dignitaries on the of the dais. We will shortly start with the
I am just inviting the dignitaries who will be conducting this valedictory session. First of all, I